Well, I mean, if you look at the last couple of years, the history shows us that Duluth's a very strong team. They almost won the national championship last year, and so lost a couple players from last year's team, but most of the kids they had last year are back. So they're very very strong opponent, and obviously playing in their building, it's going to be challenging. It'll be our toughest challenge of the young season so far, and so I'm anxious to see what we're all about. So Friday and Saturday, we play at 3, and it should be a pretty good atmosphere, and the competition's going to be quite stiff.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair to say more like just the way the season and some of the games have gone that, like defensively, like your goaltender, just in general, this is going to be a great opportunity for them to kind of really be challenged.
Well, we'll be challenged, but I think the important thing is we're going to find out more about our team. Obviously, from the net out, there'll be issues within the game that we have to figure out, we have to manage, and at the end of the weekend, we're going to look back and figure out what we do well, what didn't we do well, and then continue to the process of trying to get better. But obviously, they're coming off a couple tough defeats down at Ohio State last weekend, so they're going to be hungry and anxious to go. Nobody wants to lose back-to-back games. So Friday afternoon should be, without a doubt, our stiffest challenge up to this point.
You playing the same goalie rotation?
I thought you might ask that.
It's about that time.
It's about that time. If I were to answer it honestly today, it would probably look the same as it has, the first 5 weekends. They'll get tested like everybody else this weekend. Obviously, we'll probably have more shots against us than we've had in our previous 10 games. The rink size is much smaller than LeBon, with the corners being really tight, so that creates more offense for the team that has a puck in the offensive zone. So, but again, if both get an opportunity to play Friday and Saturday, they're going to know more about themselves. We're going to know more about them, and so at the end of the weekend, that's a good position to be in, because the whole object is to try to make improvements. And when you get challenged, and if things don't go well, then you figure out what you need to do to improve on. If things go well, you continue the process and try to become stronger also.
You need to see them get more shots in a game to have just the basis of judging who's got a leg up in that.
I think through adversity and being challenged, that you find out more about teams, you find more about individuals, and so depending how the games go, we don't know right now, but we certainly are going to face more scoring opportunities than we've had in our previous 10 games, and so that's a challenge for them. They've worked hard, they've prepared, now they've got a little bit of experience, but now they need some more experience at a higher level, and that's what we'll see this weekend.
If you were to describe this team to someone that hadn't seen this particular Badger team before, how would you describe it?
I would say it's a team that transitions, well when the puck turns over. So if the puck turns over somewhere in the neutral zone or somewhere around either blue line, our ability to transition and get the puck in the offensive zone quickly. And if you look at our last couple of games, we scored a handful of goals by doing that. And so, on the other end, you want to manage pucks. If you don't manage pucks well in certain parts of the ice, it gives the other team an opportunity to counter. And so this weekend, especially the first period Friday afternoon, with the rink being smaller and things going to be happening quicker and pucks turning over faster, you just have to be ready to play. And if we're ready to play, then it's going to be an opportunity for us to use some of the strengths that we have as a club to counter some of the things that we're going to be up against this weekend.
You had a chance to build LeBon again. Would you put it at 85 wide instead of the 90, 91, or is that a decent compromise between? Because I think when you have speed and you can use it like that and things do happen quickly, small ice does tend to help in some of those.
No, I like the size of the ice sheet. If I had to do it over again, it would have been the first rendering that I saw when we were in the process, where the rink was going, east and west, and it was going to seat about 4,000, maybe a little bit over that. Even the second rendering was, it was a complete bowl. And so if I had to do it over again, and I had a bucket full of money, we ran out of space actually, and that caused the biggest issue. And then there was a electrical pipe going right next to where we wanted to put the building. That created a big loophole. But I think it's good. I mean, if we could live in a perfect world, You'd have probably 1,000 more seats and maybe a full bowl, a beautiful jumbotron, things that on a wish list. It's like Christmas. I wish I had this, or I wish I had that, but it's been good. I like the ice sheet the way it is. I think even the NHL would benefit if everybody was consistent with that ice sheet, just because you give the skilled players and the better players that the fans really want to watch an opportunity to have a little more space. The tough thing about our game, the smaller the ice sheet, the less space and time you take away from players. And certainly over the last 15 or 20 years, on the men's side and even on the women's side now, I'm seeing players are getting bigger, they're getting stronger, and importantly, they're getting a lot faster. And so that space that maybe once had, you don't have right now. So if you went out to 200 by 90, I think it really bode well for whether it was a female game or whether it was a male game.
That's kind of the good compromise.
I think so. Yep. And then depending on what you want to do with the corners, like this weekend, the biggest difference is going to be the corners. So the corners are really tight. There's not much space back there, and so if the puck's in there, you better get it out of there pretty quick if you're your own end. If you can get the puck behind the other team's net, you're probably in a pretty good space to get a scoring opportunity.
Last series, game 1, you had 8 different Badgers score. Follow that up with 7 different Badgers score. What does it say about this team and the depth that you have?
Well, we've been, early part of the season, we've been able to establish that depth, and obviously if multiple kids are scoring, as you mentioned, 8 kids one night, 7 the next. To me, as a former player, when you're scoring and you're helping the team win, your confidence goes up. And so those kids are getting a chance to, whether they get assists or get goals, it builds confidence within their individual play, and then collectively, you put all that together, you become a team that's more challenging to, maybe defend against. And so this weekend we'll get challenged. There's going to be media timeouts. There's going to be stoppages within each period. So the game management, from my standpoint, changes quite a bit. And so we'll try to, dictate a pace under those type of guidelines.
So, like I say, Sophie Shirley became one of the top 10 scorers here. I guess I just want to get your thoughts on kind of what you seen from her so far. What stands out to you, on what she's kind of shown you so far this season?
Well, I think for her, the important thing was try to get off to a real good start as we began the season. I thought, the last 8 or 10 games last year, she really started to take her game up a level, started to compete at a real high level. And, the big thing working over the summer, take that confidence from the end of last year and start off this year, which she's done. So, after 10 games, she's playing well. Her line, I think, is playing well. They've been consistent from each game. And so for her, her last year being a Badger, you want to make that the best year that you've had. And so far, she's been able to do that.
The NCAA rule changes this year took things away from replay that the referees could say, I want to review this and put it on coaches' challenges. And you don't have video on the bench to know what you should challenge or not. Do you have someone upstairs? Is Justin radioing down at anyone?
Yeah, there's some communication there, but it's not like the guidelines at the NHL. If I'm an NHL coach, I got everything I need right at my feet, and so I've got someone sitting underneath that's controlling the video. So whatever I want, I'm going to get instantly. And so if there's a goal or there's a hit or something that I need to look at, I can look right down and see it. Where we don't have that luxury, we're not allowed to have those devices on our bench. And so the rules put in place to try to help the game. I'm not so sure that we have the equipment on our end from the coaching perspective to do it. So if we're up at St. Cloud and the cameras are coming from the west end of the building, they're going to miss the first 5 or 8 feet of the blue line. And so if the play was offsides and I thought it was offsides and I'm on the other side and I think, well, that's offsides, the camera may not even pick it up. So the hard part about the challenge is if you don't have a timeout left, then you're going to get a penalty. And I think that to me is the equipment we have and what's available to us doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's just one vote.
I know some teams kind of go, like they have a whole process. They have somebody up in the sky with an earpiece and a microphone, and I've seen this, you've got to challenge this or let it go.
Yeah, and then a lot of NHL games you'll watch, there's this pause, whatever it's 20 seconds, 30 seconds after a goal scored, and the referees are sort of looking over at the team that just got scored on, do you want to challenge it or don't you? And then all of a sudden, nope. It's like Major League Baseball. There's all of a sudden the manager's looking back and he gets a sign, no, we're not going to challenge her. Yes, we are. So we just don't have that equipment. And then you go to different rinks, like you went on to Ohio State. And the video that they have down there is not going to do justice to an opportunity to review many calls down there. So it's there for a purpose, and for us on the women's side, I'm sure it serves the purpose that it was intended to serve.
You can't, the schedule is the schedule. I really can't control.
Yeah, we were talking about this morning with my coaching staff. It's like, it is what it is, and so in a perfect world, we would have taken our 4 games in September, and we would have put them into these 2 weekends out of the 3 that were off in November. But you have to look at it on the positive side of things. And so after this weekend, we have a couple weeks off from game competitions, so we can sit back as coaches and decide what we're going to do in practice from an individual standpoint. So normally in a regular season where you're consistently playing every weekend, you may not have time to spend individually with players like we're going to have for the next couple of weeks. So the big thing is to try to manage practices so the players still want to come and have fun at practice and not get bored or just say it's going to be another day of practice. I mean, to me, every day's got to have a purpose to it. So what's the purpose next Monday when we come back to practice? And we have to take a purpose. Then we have to take some days off during that time. So it becomes managing those 2 weeks. And the big thing is we're going to come out of it and we're going to have to play Minnesota. The only positive side on that part of it is the weekend before we play Minnesota, they're going to be off too. So it's just the way the schedule's set up. And like I say, we control some of it, but we don't control all of it. And so when the league gives you a bye weekend, when you don't want a bye weekend, bite the bullet, swallow it, and make the most out of it.